Yeah, last time we studied about Fourier law of heat conduction and its similarity with Newton's law of viscosity and Fick's laws of diffusion. Now we're going to start with your heat transfer, and for heat transfer, again, we'll be doing the shell balance followed by the equation of change for thermal part, and then we'll have an unsteady state part for the thermal part. So what we were discussing was uh, we considered two parallel plates. There were two parallel plates, and both the parallel plates were separated by a distance y apart. And initially, the plates and the fluid which is there in between these parallel plates, they are maintained at a uniform temperature T naught. Now, once the lower plate at T equal to 0, the lower plate temperature increased to T1. So when the temperature of the lower plate increases to temperature T1, so there is a slight heat transfer occurring from high temperature towards the low temperature, and with the passage of time, this temperature profile is developed, and once it reaches a steady state, we have a uniform temperature distribution throughout this fluid. And what we derived was that heat flux, that is Q by A, is directly proportional to K into delta T by Y, where delta T is the temperature difference, that is T1 minus T naught, and K is known as your thermal conductivity. So this is what we studied last time. Now, if we talk about heat flux is Qy if it is in the y direction minus k dt by dy. If it is in the x direction, it will be Qx is minus k dt by dx. And similarly, if it is in the z direction, it can be written in the z direction. Now, uh, similarly to viscosity, thermal conductivity can also be calculated for individual gases, which is given by this formula, which is 1.9, which is 1.989 into 10 raised to the power minus 4 under root of T by M by sigma square into K. The one which we studied. Similarly, what we studied for your viscosity. And thermal conductivity for gas mixtures. For gas mixtures, it was represented as K of a mixture, which is summation I equal 1 to N, where Xi is the mole fraction of the individual gases, Ki is the thermal conductivity of individual gases over summation of Xj into phi ij, where phi ij is basically the interaction of between the gas mixtures. So phi ij, similar to what we derived for viscosity, is 1 by under root of 8, 1 plus mi by mj raised to power minus half into 1 plus mu I by mu j into mj by mi raised to power 1 by 4 raised to power square. So the one which we did for viscosity of gases, similarly it can be used for thermal conductivity of gas mixtures. It's a similar thing. For viscosity, if you remember, I'll again repeat for viscosity, what we derived was mu equal to 2.6693 10 raised to power minus 5 under root of mt by sigma square mu viscosity. So this was for the viscosity. Now this is for your thermal conductivity. Now, when we talk about viscous flow, what we did was we took a small shell balance, we applied the shell balance over that small element and approach the element, the dimensions of the element are approached towards zero, and then we end up with the first order differential equation. That first order differential equation represents the momentum flux. Then we introduce the Newtonian character or the non-Newtonian character of the fluid, and we derive the second order differential equation, which basically represented the viscosity velocity distribution. velocity distribution. And then from using boundary conditions, this we had the velocity expression, and we also had the momentum flux expression. Then these expressions can be used to derive the maximum velocity, average velocity, volumetric flow rate, and so on. In a similar way, we're gonna do it for your heat transfer. First, we'll take a small shell, we'll apply the balance over that small shell, put the limits that delta x approaches 0 or delta y or whatever the dimensions are approaches 0. So we're going to end up with a first order differential equation. That first order differential equation will represent heat flux. Then we're going to introduce the Fourier law of heat conduction. That is this thing. If it is conduction, we're going to introduce the conduction conditions. If it is the convection, we're going to introduce the convection conditions. And then we're going to end up with our second order differential equation. That second order differential equation is basically the temperature distribution equation. Then using boundary conditions, we'll have a temperature profile. Now that temperature profile can be used to derive the maximum temperature, average temperature, or the amount of heat entered or heat generated by the system. So similarly, we're going to do it for your thermal conduction. It's exactly the similar way what we did for momentum. We're going to do it for your thermal part. Now there are certain common type of boundary conditions which are to be considered. First, the temperature must be specified at the surface. That's the common boundary condition which should be there. That is, temperature must be specified at the surface. Second is the heat flux normal to the surface may be given. That is, heat flux normal to the surface may be given. Third condition is at the interface, the continuity of temperature, and heat flux is required. That is, in case of viscosity, in case of momentum, it was viscosity and momentum flux. In case of thermal, it is the temperature as well as the heat flux at the interface of the two fluids. It should be same. And fourth one is at the solid liquid interface, the normal heat flux may be related to the temperature difference at the solid liquid interface. The heat flux may be related to the difference between the solid surface temperature, that is T0, and the bulk temperature, bulk fluid temperature, that is the surrounding temperature or the ambient conditions, that is Ts. So these are some common boundary conditions which we will be handling in the thermal case. That is, at the solid liquid interface, the heat flux may be related to the difference between the solid surface temperature and the bulk fluid temperature. Clear? So we're gonna be using these boundary conditions. So let's talk about a general expression for the thermal part. For thermal part, the energy balance which we'll be handling is rate of energy in by convective transport. Obviously, if the fluid is moving, so it will lead to the convective part, minus the same rate of energy output by convection, by convective transport, plus energy in, rate of energy in by mass transfer, that is mass which is entering into the system, minus rate of energy out by mass transfer which is leaving out the system, plus rate of work done by the system or on the system, whatever that is, rate of work done on the system by mass transfer minus rate of work done on the system by molecular transport. Sorry, remember this is molecular transport. It's not mass transfer, it's molecular transfer. Let's talk about molecular transfer. The mass which is entering, let's convert it in terms of molecular transfer. So rate of work done on the system by molecular transfer, rate of work done by the system because of molecular transfer, plus rate of work done on the system by external forces plus rate of energy produced within the system plus rate of energy produced within the system is equal to 0. So when we talk about in the thermal part, we'll be considering all these type of energies. First is because of the convective nature, second is because of the molecular nature, and third is because of the fluid which is entering into the system and which is exiting the system. That is, if it is an open system, so obviously when the fluid is entering, so it is bringing some energy, and when it is leaving, it is taking out some energy. So that will be over here. Further, if there is some external radiation or some sort of a convection part is occurring, so what work is done by the system or on the system by the external forces, that will be considered over here. And if there is some energy being produced or generated within the system, that will be covered over here. So this entire equation is basically represents your energy balance. So let's start with a very simple case. First, we're gonna start with the conduction part. Then we're slowly gonna add the motion part to the conduction part, and we're gonna study the convective part. So let's start with the first very simple part, that is the conduction part. So the first topic in this is your heat conduction through the composite walls. Our first example is heat conduction through composite walls. Now, when we talk about composite walls, so composite walls are basically the walls consisting of different substances. Let's say the third one. So let's talk about these different walls with the height as h and the width of the wall as w. There is no heat dissipation, that is no heat loss from the wall to the surroundings. No heat dissipation. And let's say on this side of the wall, the ambient temperature is T, and on this side of the wall, the ambient temperature is TB. Let's say this is substance 1. The wall is made up of substance 1. The second part of the wall is made up of substance 2, and the third part is made up of substance 3. So there are 3 different substances, each having different thermal conductivity, K1, K2 and K3. Let's say that this point is x equal to x naught, that is at the start, where the initial temperature is T naught. Over here, the temperature is T1. Over here, the temperature is T2. And over here, the wall is having the temperature T3. Let's say the distance is x1, x2, and x3. Now, at x equal to 0, substance 1 is in contact with the fluid, which is having the ambient temperature TA. The wall substance is in contact with the fluid, which is having the ambient temperature TA. And at x equal to 3, the wall is in contact with the fluid, which is having the ambient temperature TB. That is over here, the wall temperature is TB. Now, the heat is being transferred at the boundaries, that is at x equal to 0 and at x equal to 3 under Newton law of cooling. Under Newton law of cooling, that is over here, the rate of heat transfer coefficient is h naught, and over here, let's say the rate of heat transfer is h3. That means over here at the surface, at the interface, there is cooling occurring. That is when it comes in contact with the ambient temperature, there is some sort of heat being lost or being transferred to the surroundings, and that is occurring under the phenomenon of Newton law of cooling. And similarly, the same thing occurs at x equal to 3. Now, let's apply the balance and generate the equation. For this, let's talk about the simple equation, that is rate of energy in minus rate of energy out plus generation is equal to accumulation. So under steady state, the accumulation part is 0. Under steady state, so the accumulation part is 0. Now let's see the energy. Now what will be the cross-sectional area over here? That is W into H. So W into H and rate of heat input. So let's talk about if it is in the x direction. This is x, this is y. It's in the x direction, so it is Qx occurring at x minus WH into Qx, which is occurring at x plus delta x if we take a smaller shell. Plus there is no generation occurring, so whatever is in, that is equal to out. So what we have is dqx by dx is equal to 0. That means the qx is equal to constant. That is, let's talk about it is q naught. Clear? So heat flux in the x direction is a constant, that is q naught. Now, similarly for region 0 to 1, similarly from 0 to 1 and 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. Let's say this is 0, 1, 2, and 3. Similarly for the region between 0 to 1 is Qx is Q naught. For 1 to 2, it's remaining the same, and for 2 to 3, it's also remaining same. That is the heat flux throughout this wall within each region is constant. So if we say that for region 0 to 1, let's write it out. If we introduce the Fourier law of heat conduction also, that is Qx at 1 is Q naught, which is minus K1 dt by dx1 is Q naught. Similarly for region 2, region 1 to 2, it's Qx2 is Q naught, which is minus K2 dt by dx is equal to Q naught. And similarly for the third region, that is 2 to 3, let's say Qx3 is Q naught, which is minus K3 dt by dx is equal to Q naught. So assuming the constants K1, K2 and K3 are constants, K1, K2, K3, the thermal conductivity terms are constants. So if we integrate these three equations, we're going to end up as from this equation we'll have T naught minus T1 is Q naught x1 minus x0 over K1. Similarly, from this equation, we're going to end up as T1 minus T2 equal to Q0 into x2 minus x1 over K2. And similarly, from this equation, we have T2 minus T3 is equal to Q0 x3 minus x2 over K3. So we have these three equations. So let's name it as 1, 2, and 3. Now, at the surface, that is at x equal to x0 and at x equal to x3, there's Newton law of cooling occurring. So Newton law of cooling says Q naught is h naught into the temperature difference, that is Ta minus T naught, and at x equal to 3 it is again Q naught, which is equal to h3 into T3 minus Tb. So from here we have Ta minus T naught as Q naught by h naught, and from here we have T3 minus Tb is equal to Q naught by h3. So let's name it as equation 4 and this is equation 5. Now let's add all the equations, equation 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. So adding all the equations, that is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. So what we have is basically this T1 gets cancelled with T1, T2 cancels with T2, T3 cancels with T3, and T naught cancels with T naught. So what we have is basically Ta minus Tb is equal to, so Q naught is common in all. So what we have is 1 by h naught plus 1 by h3 plus x1 minus x0 by k1 plus x2 minus x1 by k2 plus x3 minus x2 by k3. So we have this. So from here we have the Q naught as Ta minus Tb over 1 by h naught plus 1 by h3, that is the heat transfer coefficients present at the surfaces, that is at x equal to 0 and x equal to 3, plus if you look at these are basically the thermal conductivities of a specific region and the distance of that specific plate, that is x1 to x0, x2 to x1 and x3 to x2. So we can write it as summation I equal 1 to 3 xi minus 1 over ki. So this is the heat transfer flux. Now also if we talk about Q naught can also be written as overall heat transfer coefficient into Ta minus Tb. So if you compare your equation A with equation B, so you have overall heat transfer coefficient as 1 by U as 1 by H plus 1 by H3 plus summation I equal 1 to, you can say N, which is xi minus 1 over ki. So this can also be represented as your overall heat transfer coefficient. Clear? So this is how you can use, you can calculate the temperature profile as well as calculate your heat transfer coefficient for a composite wall system. Clear? Now let's take another case. This was the case of a rectangular system where the system was considering a composite wall consisting of 3 different materials in a rectangular system. Now let's take another case where we'll perform the similar analysis where we have now the composite wall in a cylindrical shape. The composite wall in the cylindrical shape. everything remains the same, but instead of the rectangular coordinates, now we have the circular system. For composite cylindrical system, let's say we have inner radii, and the temperature of the fluid inside this is, let's say, TA. Let me make a bigger one, that will be easy. Let's say we have an inner radii, then we have the wall, the cylindrical wall, which is having the thermal conductivity as K01. Then we have the another cylindrical wall, which is having the thermal conductivity as K12. And then we have the last composite wall, which is having the thermal conductivity as K2 to 3. So it's a cylindrical wall. The length of the wall is L. The length of the wall is L. And there is a fluid which is entering into the inner tube, and there is a fluid which is flowing at the outer surface of the outer tube. Clear? The fluid which is at the inside is having a temperature TA, and the fluid which is flowing at the outer shell of this tube is having a temperature TB. So fluid at temperature TB flows outside the tube. That is, it is flowing at the outer surface of this tube. It is flowing in this direction. So if you look at the radii, let's say from the center, let's say this tube, the inner tube is having the radius R0. The red one is having the radius R1. The green one is having the radius R2. And the last one, let's say, is having the radius R3. Whereas the thermal conductivity of the red one is K01, the thermal conductivity of the green material is K12, and the blue material, which is the outer tube, is having the radius K23. So let's apply the shell balance over the this small shell. So that is input minus output is plus generation equal to 0. So in minus out plus generation equal to accumulation. Under steady state, the accumulation part is 0 and there is no generation occurring. So what is left is in minus out. Now if you apply the shell balance for a region 0 to 1, that is for this part, we are applying for 0 to 1. So it will be 2 pi RL, that is the circumference of the shell, into the QR, which is occurring at R. And similarly, 2 pi RL, the surface area basically of the ring. So it is 2 pi RL into QR occurring at R plus delta R equal to 0. So if you divide by 2 pi L delta R and take the limits delta R approaches 0, so we're gonna end up as dq by dr as r qr is equal to 0. So what we have is r qr is nothing but some sort of a constant. Let's say it has qr q naught. It's a constant. R qr has this, where r naught is the inner radius of the region 0 to 1, where r naught is the inner radius of the inner tube radius, and q naught is the heat flux present over there. Heat flux present there. Now, similarly for region 1 to 2, that is for the green region, and similarly for the outer blue region, that is 2 to 3, it will also remain the same. So for region 1 to 2, we can write for region 0 to 1. Let's for this thing, that is, if we can write it, if we introduce the heat flux conditions, so minus k naught 1 into r d term 1 by dr is equal to r naught q1. And for region 1 to 2, it will be minus k1 to r d1 to 2 dr. It's r naught q naught. And finally for the outer region 2 to 3, it's minus 2 3 r d 2 3 by dr equal to r naught q naught. Now if you integrate it, so upon integration, what we're going to end up as, this will give us temperature T naught minus T1 equal to R naught Q naught by K naught 1 into ln R1 by R. Similarly, the second region will give us T1 to T2 is equal to R naught Q naught by K1 to 2 ln R2 by R1. And finally, the green one will give us as T23 to 2 to 3. It is R naught by Q naught by K23 ln R3 by R2. Also, at the surfaces, that is the inner surface, that is over here, the fluid is entering, and at the outer surface, the fluid is entering. So at the fluid solid interface, at the inner tube, so we have the Newton law of cooling, Ta minus T naught, that is the ambient fluid. It is Q naught by H naught. And at the outer tube, that is T3 minus Tb equal to Q3 by H naught, where Q3 can also be written as R naught Q naught by R3 H3, because Q3 R3 is equal to Q naught R naught. So Q3 can be calculated as Q naught R naught by R3. So it can be represented as this. So now let's name these equations. This is equation 1, equation 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if we add all the equations again, adding all the equations, so what we end up as Ta minus Tb as R naught by Q naught is common in all. So what we have is 1 by R naught H naught plus 1 by R3 H3 plus ln R1 by R naught over K naught 1 plus ln R2 by R1 by K12 plus ln R3 by R2 K23. So we have this. Also, we can find it out. What is R naught Q naught? It's Ta minus Tb over this expression. This entire expression can be kept over here. So, and if you multiply by 2 pi RL on both the sides, if you multiply both the sides by 2 pi L, so what we have is 2 pi L R naught Q naught equal to 2 pi L into TA minus TB over this expression, and that is the Q naught. That is the rate of heat transfer through this system, rate of heat transfer through this wall. So that is the fluid which is entering into the inner part. It first interacts with this material. Second, there is a heat transfer between material 1 to 2, and then there is a heat transfer between material 2 to 3, and then finally there is a heat transfer at the surface occurring. So that is the overall heat transfer, which can be calculated as Q naught as 2 pi L R naught Q naught, and that can be represented by this. Also, the overall heat transfer coefficient which is occurring. So Q naught, overall heat transfer in terms of overall transfer, that is U naught into the area. So area is 2 pi R naught L into TA minus TB. So if you compare this equation with this equation, so you have your overall heat transfer coefficient as 1 by U naught as R naught, 1 by R naught H naught plus 1 by R3 H3 plus the summations I equal 1 to N. So ln Ri by Ri minus 1 over Ki1 I. So that is this. So this is how the overall heat transfer coefficient for a cylindrical system can be represented. Whereas in case of these rectangular systems, it was in case of rectangular systems, it was 1 by U naught of 1 by H naught plus 1 by H3 plus the summation of Xi minus 1 over Ki. So it was testing. So in case of rectangular systems, that's the overall heat transfer coefficient, and in case of cylindrical systems, it's represented by this particular term. Clear? So whether it's the cylindrical system or the spherical systems, the composite was the overall heat transfer coefficient are represented by these respective terminologies. Clear? So in the next lecture, we'll continue with this heat conduction over different body systems. That is, we'll take an example of a cooling film, because we all know what are the cooling films used for. So in the next topic, we'll be studying heat conduction through cooling films. If you have any query, you can ask.